All right, today we are going to go through lesson 6, our last lesson in the packet, where we're going to talk about interest. So this is going to be your learning target that I can solve for simple interest using proportions. So interest is probably a word you haven't heard before. Interest basically means when you borrow money, you have to pay for something back. So for example, if I wanted today to go buy a new car, and my new car is going to cost me $20,000, and I'm like, well, I don't have $20,000. So what I would do is I would go to the bank and I would say, hey, can I borrow $20,000? I'll pay you back in 5 years. And so I would do that, and the bank would say, sure, you can borrow $20,000 and you have to pay us back in 5 years. But when you pay us back, since you borrowed our money and we let you, you have to pay us back $20,000 plus another $2,000 for letting us borrow your money. So you have to pay us back $22,000. Or maybe you want to look a little smaller. If you were like, man, I really want to go buy Culver's today and get me some chicken tenders and ice cream. It's going to cost me $20, but I don't have $20. So you go to Mr. Larson and you're like, Mr. Larson, can I please borrow $20 so I can go to Culver's? I promise I'll pay you back tomorrow. And he'll be like, sure, you can have $20 and you have to pay me back tomorrow. But when you pay me back the $20, you have to pay me an extra $3. So you have to pay me $23 back. So because he borrowed you money, you have to give him extra money back. That is called interest. So we are going to practice how we solve for interest when we're doing this. This is going to be your last proportion that you'll get. The top line here is the interest amount. So, and the bottom is the money in account, or the money that you're borrowing. Percent here, 100 here. Biggest thing to note is this whole proportion is on a 1 year equation. So this thing, when you solve, that's meaning for 1 year. So if you had to do it for 2 years, you'd have to multiply. And that'll make sense in a second. So we're going to go through with some example problems. Pause it if you need to. Try some on your own. See what you need. Go slow. Make sure you're getting what you need. So this first one says, Victoria opens a savings account with, oh, I forgot to mention that. There's also the good kind of interest. So we talked about the more like bad interest, where when you borrow money, then you have to pay extra money back. But there's also good interest. So let's say you have a lot of money, but you don't want to keep it because you want it safe. So you're like, man, I've got like $1,000 and I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to keep it at the bank. The bank is going to store it for me. And the bank will actually be like, hey, thanks so much for trusting us with your money. We're going to actually give you interest. We're actually going to give you money. So if you let us save your $1,000 here, keep it safe here, we'll actually give you an extra $5 or something like that. So that's what this problem is. So basically, Victoria, she has $300 and she's going to give it to the bank. She's like, hey, keep my money safe. And the bank's like, okay, we'll give you 1.6% of simple interest. So percent goes on top, 100 on the bottom. And so when we solve this, 300 times 1.6 divided by 100, we get $4.80. So that means every year, Victoria is just going to get a free $4.80 just for keeping her money at the bank. However, she's doing it for 5 years, so I need to multiply it by 5, and we get $24. So that means if Victoria put $300 in the bank and just kept it there for 5 years, she's going to get a free $24. That's why you want to put more money in the bank, more free money. The second example says John has a savings account that pays 2% simple interest. So my percent goes on top, 2.5%. How much interest will he get in 8 years if he puts in $250? So he's going to put in $250 into the bank. He gets 2.5%. So he asked the bank to hold on to his $250. And they said, sure, we'll do that for you. And we'll also give you $6.25 for free for 1 year. So if you do it for 8 years, multiply it by 8, and you get a free $50. So if you went and put $250 in the bank and kept it there for 8 years, you get a free $50. So the more money you put in, the more money you're going to get out if you're keeping it for the bank. That's good interest. All right, example 3 says that, we actually have to add something here. Maya's older sister got a loan for $3,400. What is the interest rate on the loan if she is going to owe $150? So basically, she wants to borrow $3,400 to buy a new car. That's how much she wants to borrow. And we don't know what the interest rate is, but we know when she's done, she's going to have to pay back $150. So we do 150 times 100 divided by 3,400. And we get 4.4%. So that means when she pays back the money from the bank, she said, hey, bank, can I borrow your money? Can I borrow $3,400? And the bank was like, yeah, sure. But when you pay us back, you have to pay us back the $3,400 and an extra $150. And that's how it works with interest. All right, flip it over. If you're doing good, feel free to try a couple on your own. If you are struggling and need some help, just keep watching. This one had some extra things in here. This one had like the second problem. Cross that out. All right, Sophie invests $500 into a savings account that's going to earn 4% every year. How much will she get after 6 years? So she put money into the account. She put in $500, and she gets a 4% interest rate. Now if I cross multiply here, that means that Sophie gets a free $20 every year. And if she does this for 6 years, that means that she's going to get $120. Sorry, they're coming in to take the trash out. All right, so $120 for 6 years. $120 free dollars. Okay, Ethan deposits $750 into a savings account. So he puts in $750 and he gets 3.5% interest. How much will he get after 4 years? So 750 times 3.5 divided by 100 means that he gets $26.25 for 1 year. Now, if he does this for 4 years and I multiply it by 4, that means he'll get $105 free dollars just for having the bank keep his money for him. Example 6 says that a bank lends $1,200 at a simple interest rate of 5% for 9 months. How much will the bank earn? So the bank borrowed someone $1,200. They have a 5% interest rate. So we do 1,200 times 5 divided by 100, and we get $60. But that's $60 for 1 year. They only want to know about 9 months, which is 3/4 of a year. So if I just figure out what 3/4 times 60 is, that means I would get $45. The bank would get $45. And the last one says Lila borrowed $2,000 from her parents to help her pay for college. So this is how much she borrowed. And after 3 years, she had to pay back $2,240. What was the simple interest on the rate of the loan? So she eventually had to pay back $2,000 plus the extra $240 out of 100. Put 240 times 100 divided by 2,000, and we get 12%. So that's a pretty high interest rate. So now you're going to go through page 23 to practice. And if you need help, make sure you're asking questions. Go back through and watch any of the examples if you need help with lesson 6.